This highway can be dangerous. That's why people take precautions. First, drivers make sure they have the skill and knowledge required to safely operate their vehicles. Second, they start out sober and remain sober. Third, they obey the rules of the road and drive defensively. A busy waterway can be just as dangerous as the busiest highway, especially for those operating small recreational vessels. That's why it's just as important on water as it is on land to make safety the #1 priority. Make sure you have the skills and training you need to operate your boat safely. Driving a boat while under the influence of alcohol can result in tragedy. Don't do it. Learn and obey the rules of navigation that apply, and stay clear of large ships. Big vessels can't make way for you. You have to be the defensive driver. Using simulator technology operated by the Lower St. Lawrence pilots in Quebec City, we can illustrate how small recreational boats are seen from the perspective of a large ocean-going vessel. Now let's climb on board a commercial vessel with a Canadian Marine pilot to see things from his vantage point and to understand what he cannot see. While a pilot's field of vision from the bridge is always limited, the limitation varies depending on whether the vessel is an oil tanker, a bulker, or a container ship. Visibility also varies, depending on whether it's a sunny afternoon, or a rainy day, or during the dead of night. These limitations in visibility and in the field of vision from the bridge of commercial vessels are very important when considering how safety can be assured when these vessels share the water with recreational boats. The challenge exists in every major Canadian waterway, whether near Halifax, Montreal, Hamilton, Windsor, Victoria, Vancouver, or Quebec City. In all of these locations, commercial vessels must transit areas busy with recreational boats. The mix of commercial vessels and pleasure crafts is always challenging and can easily become hazardous. Let's use a simulated scenario to see what this could look like. Pilot Scott Johnson has been on duty aboard a container ship for several hours. Starting at the Escoman Pilot Station, his journey of 122 nautical miles is nearing its end as he approaches the Quebec City Pilot Station, where another pilot will take over and guide the ship to Trois-Rivières. This pilot will, in turn, be relieved by another colleague who will take the ship to its final destination, Montreal. Some vessels will travel even further up the St. Lawrence Seaway to ports on the Great Lakes. Wherever their port of call, these ships are conducted by pilots with expert local knowledge to ensure safe navigation. The same practice is followed all along the Canadian West Coast and in the waterways around the main ports of Atlantic Canada. In the simulated voyage we see here, just before the pilot changeover takes place in front of Quebec City, the bridge is on alert. Fair weather and favorable winds have resulted in heavier than usual recreational craft traffic. Moreover, the pilot has been notified by Marine Control that a sailboat regatta is underway.
Many of the sailboats are traveling together in a north-south direction. They're probably part of the regatta. If I hold course a little longer, I can pass behind them and then steer the ship port side, positioning it parallel to the dock for the pilot change. The other sailboats don't seem to be a problem for now, but a motorboat on the starboard side seems to be trying to cross in front of me. Let's hope he changes his mind. Captain, reduce speed to minimum and blow the foghorn 5 times to warn the motorboat. It looks like he's going to cross in front. Sound 5 short blows again. Now he's in our blind spot and has dropped out of sight. I have no choice. We're approaching the dock. I have to veer port side heading 195. Go to the port side of the vessel and see if you can spot the motorboat crossing in front of us.
He does not appear to be crossing. He might be headed in the same direction in front of the ship. Or maybe he has stopped. Did his engine stall?
Oh, finally, there he is, on starboard. He crossed in front of us and now he's moving off. Wow, that was too close for comfort.
In the situation we just saw, the best solution would have been for the pleasure craft to pass behind the container ship at a significant distance to avoid the effects of the ship's propellers. The decision to pass in front of the ship could have had grave consequences. The container ship has very limited maneuverability. You think this situation is unrealistic? Let's see. The pilot was in a situation where he could no longer see the boat because it was in front of the ship, where there's a large blind spot from the bridge. This blind spot can reach up to 500 meters or twice the ship's length. A move port side could have made the situation worse if the recreational boat was indeed crossing in front of the ship. If the pilot had shifted starboard, the situation would have been just as hazardous if the recreational boat had decided to turn around and head back. And if the recreational boat had stalled in front of the vessel, it would have been virtually impossible to avoid disaster, because the container ship, even traveling at 10 knots, would have traveled a full nautical mile in 6 minutes. At this speed, if the boat was 500 meters in front in the pilot's blind spot, there would have been only 3 minutes to avoid a collision. That's unlikely to have been enough time. The second simulation shows what can happen when a pleasure craft gets in the way of a commercial vessel meeting another commercial vessel in a restricted channel with limited maneuverability. All of the resources available to pilot Gord Armstrong on board the Aurora will be put to the test as he prepares to meet the Somerset.
Captain, we'll be meeting the Somerset shortly at a location where the channel is only 245 meters. We are going to have to keep our eye on that sailboat, which is currently in front of us. Let's hope the sailboat gets out of our way.
We have now come to a crucial point in this journey. In a restricted channel, the Aurora must position itself to meet the Somerset and, at the same time, overtake the sailboat.
What's happening with that sailboat? If it only would move closer to the edge of the channel. Captain, sound 5 short blows. Captain, I'm going to communicate with the Somerset to coordinate our meet. Somerset, this is Aurora.
Hello, Aurora. This is Somerset.
Hello, Somerset. I'm behind a sailboat that doesn't seem to want to move to the edge of the channel. In order to pass it, I'm going to have to move to the middle of the channel. I believe I have enough time to move my vessel back to my side of the channel before we meet.
Roger, Aurora. We are monitoring the situation and keeping to the south edge of the channel.
Somerset, the sailboat has not moved to the north edge of the channel, despite my signals.
Roger, Aurora. We have reduced our speed to give you a bit more time. We will give you as much space as possible, but we will soon have to increase our speed so as not to be affected by the current.
Roger, Somerset. Thank you for your help.
Incredible. The person on the sailboat had earplugs.
I must advise traffic control of what's happened. Somerset, this is Aurora. Thank you for your cooperation. I'm sorry for the close shave.
Common sense tells us that the smaller, more maneuverable craft should give way to the commercial vessel with restricted maneuverability. The law requires it. A vessel of less than 20 meters in length or a sailing vessel shall not impede the passage of a vessel which can safely navigate only within a narrow channel or fairway. Collision Regulations, Rule 9b. International, Canadian, and local regulations cover every aspect of marine procedure and safety. But in waterways like Halifax Harbour, the Port of Vancouver, or the St. Lawrence River, they all boil down to two words that keep our waterways safe and enjoyable: stay clear. Any small pleasure craft in the vicinity of a large commercial vessel can avoid danger by following this simple rule. All the regulations state that above all, the onus is on the craft with the best chance to avoid the other craft. We have just seen in our two simulations why that is almost always going to be the smaller boat, the boat you are operating. Recreational boating is a great pastime. Make sure it's also a safe one. Remember, stay clear to stay afloat.